Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Today, we're going to talk about something very interesting. There's this notion of quantified self. It was formulated in the 70s, and in 2007, two of the editors of Wired put a name to it. And it's the notion that you can track your steps and your health and thereby figure out where you need to change it. That's come so much forward. And I can tell you, as a gearhead, a cardiac surgeon, someone who uses mechanical and electronic technology, I'm a huge fan of this. Today, we're going to cover the Apple Watch 6, which has, in my opinion, kind of advanced the state of this to the point where I would actually use it every day, and I do. Now, I'll tell you, I'm a bit of an Apple fanboy, and this is not a sponsored video at all. But at the same time, I've had every iteration of the Apple Watch, and I've given many of them as gifts. I've also had the other watches, and I'll compare those in a separate video. But today, what we're going to talk about is what parts of this tracking system and the watch system are important to you, meaning the tracking part. The second thing is what's important in terms of lifestyle, because I think they packaged it very well. Now, the numbers are incredible. In the world, there were 12.9 million Apple Watch 6s sold in 2020. And in India alone, approximately 52% of the market share of watches is Apple. Globally, it's up to 55%, and people are really getting used to using them. What are the pros and cons? We're gonna go over it. Why do you need it? We're gonna go over it. The Apple Watch 6, in my opinion, is a revolution in how you record your data. And the reason I say that is not only does it have 3 sets of sensor packages in that it gives you heart rate monitoring, it gives you saturations, and it gives you an EKG, but it also has a fall detector, and it has the ability to call internationally when you get into trouble. That, to me, is not only a healthcare tracker, but it's also a convenient way to kind of get your healthcare connected. To the point where I gave these to my parents, and the first time I did, several years ago, they couldn't find any use for it and actually returned it and gave the gift certificate to my sister. This time around, they recognized the value of it because it could answer phones without having the phone out. And we become so dependent on the watches and the phones for time, but more than that, for all the other functions that they give you. And it's developed a rich ecosystem of apps and other things. Now let's talk a little bit about the sensor packages. The first is the heart rate monitor. And the way that works, and we'll show you that in a diagram, is it has a combination of green light diodes, which basically emit green light over 100 times per second. And then it has receptors which measure that light coming back. And as blood flows, when you have a heartbeat and the blood flows through the tissue in your arm, the green light will be absorbed, because you remember red cells are red and they reflect red light, but they absorb green light. And then between beats, that green light will not be absorbed and it'll be reflected back. And so checking those differences, it can calculate your heart rate. Now, is there ever a situation where it's not accurate? Absolutely. If you have tattoos, or if you're moving frequently, or there's other issues with your arm in terms of moistness, or it's very cold and your arteries are vasoconstricted so the green light can't penetrate, then it won't give you accurate readings. But for the most part, the heart rate monitor is fairly consistent when compared to the gold standard, which is medical grade equipment, which the Apple Watch is not considered necessarily as medical grade equipment. Now, the next thing is the EKG sensor. This is a very interesting advance in the Apple Watch 6, in that by putting your finger on the crown, you can actually measure your EKG through one lead. So much so that when they tested this at the University of California, San Francisco, against a 12-lead EKG with cardiologists interpreting it, this watch was found to be accurate over 99% with regard to diagnosing a normal rhythm and also diagnosing AFib. So that is a quantum shift in how this watch could be used medically even, in terms of arrhythmias and regular heartbeats and also heart rates. And then the last thing is the new feature on the Apple Watch 6, which is the blood saturations. That uses digital color plethysmography, which is the same kind of concept. And it uses multiple color lights, and infrared, a green, and then the related receptors to collect that information. And that's very similar to a pulse oximeter, and it can accurately measure your saturations. Now, are there situations where the saturations aren't accurate? Absolutely. If your sats are lower than 80%, the accuracy goes down. Again, the other conditions for heart rate, if it's very cold, or you have a tattoo or other things it can't see. And some of these are also similar with pulse oxes, so it's no different there. But beyond these, there's some amazing features which I found. The first is it has gyrometer, but also an accelerometer. And why that's important is if you have a sudden event where you accelerate, in this case a fall, this watch can detect that, ask if you're in trouble, and call a emergency number internationally. That, for me, is a game changer. Very smart feature, particularly for elderly people who, could fall and may be alone. The other thing which is interesting on this watch is you can get it fully disconnected from your phone. You can actually put a SIM card into it, and then it becomes a standalone device when you're running. Now, I get it. The size of the screen is not adequate to really give you enough screen real estate to do your normal functions. But with its suite of voice recognition in the way of the digital assistant like Siri, you can actually use this fairly effectively to do what you need to. The added features on this watch beyond the medical device range include the lifestyle features. And for me, that's what kind of brings the package together, that you can store your music on this and stream it to your Bluetooth headphones. So now you've got a watch which you don't even need to store it on there. If you have a SIM chip in, you can actually do it through any of the popular online music channels, and basically listen to music while you're running or playing or doing whatever without having a phone nearby. Second thing is it can answer phone calls for you, which is amazing when you're driving, or if your phone is in your backpack or your purse or something else, you never have to take it out. Now, for me, that's a sell feature. And then the last thing is all of the SMSs, the WhatsApps, all these other things which come to you can get streamed to this thing. Now, you could say, look, you're trying to disconnect sometimes, but you could also mute all that elsewhere. But the idea is simple, that this becomes a lifestyle device as well as a fitness tracker. So all of those things combined make it something for me that's very, very valuable. And I would tell you that having bought every single one of these and seen the changes in it, it's now waterproof, so that you can actually go into the water up to 10 meters and not have any issues. It is fairly durable in that if you drop it, it generally will not break. It holds a charge for about 12 to 18 hours, depending on how much you're using it, which for me is pretty acceptable because you're gonna be charging your phone at those intervals as well. So it's just a matter of throwing one more thing on the charger. So what are the downsides to this thing? Well, I've already discussed some of them. One is that you have to be on the Apple ecosystem. So if you have an Android watch, this is not gonna work very well. The second is, and just to put this in reference, in India in particular, the majority of the population has Android. Apple only is about 10% of all phone devices. So that kind of reduces the marketplace. Having said that, as a sports tracker, this watch, I would say, is the most popular one in India even, and certainly globally. Third problem which I have with this is the charging. The last thing is probably perhaps the giant killer, and that's cost. These watches are running anywhere, depending on if you buy the 6, the SE, or the 3, varying. And you're looking at the fully blown Apple 6 in India running roughly about 50,000 rupees, and in the US about $400 to $500, depending on the size and the watch bands. Now, Apple has made this interesting in that they have an aluminum watch body, and they also have a stainless steel. And then in addition to that, they have various bands. It's sort of like a car when you buy it. They make more money on the accessories than they do on the actual car sometimes. But the point is, that's up to you. And as the watch evolves, there's gonna be more aftermarket accessories available, which will be totally affordable. So that part I don't even think about. But here's my take on this, finally. This is a great device for anyone who wants to do it and someone who can afford 40 to 50,000. So it's going to select out for those types of people in the audience. I'm waiting for them to come down in price, and they sort of have with the SE, which doesn't have all of the features, like it doesn't have the saturations and some of the other things. Now, how much do you actually need? That's the real question. If you're just using this for a fitness tracker, there's much cheaper devices. And honestly, you can get away with something which is 2,000 or 3,000 rupees. But if you're using it as an all-in-one, which kind of integrates your life, excellent choice. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll put all the links in my description. If you like what we're saying, please hit the like button. Don't forget to share this with everyone you know, and hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you can get my newest adventures in blogging and vlogging. And I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Thank you so much.